Hello and welcome to this Yelan complete guide. We will going through her talents, passive, weapons, artifacts and teams. First, some generalities. Yelan is a Hydro bow user. She's a SUB-DPS that relies on her burst to do damage. She has HP scaling and works a little bit like Shincho. Then, moving on to her talents. First, her normal attacks. Her normal attacks, as you can see now, has beautiful animations and scales of attack, like here. So her normal attacks and aim shot and fully charge aim shot scales of attacks, so these abilities are not very useful, but it has a mechanic called breakthrough barb damage that scales off HP and that decreases Yelan's charge shot time from 80% after 5 seconds out of combat. So that's pretty nice, but not very useful. Next we have her elemental skill that if you tap it does a dash forward like this and mark enemies, and at the end of the skill the marks explode and deal damage, and if you hold it you can run around being invisible during 3 seconds and mark enemies, and like when you tap it these marks will explode and deal damage based off her HP. So there are the multipliers. So we got nice HP multiplier, mine's level 7, and her burst is a little bit like Shincho, works a little bit like Shincho, like here you've got a skill damage, not very important, and during 15 seconds arrows will be fired on normal attack, and these arrows can be occurred every 1 second. The skill lasts 15 seconds and has a 18 seconds cooldown. It has a pretty high energy cost of 70, but it's alright. I have it level 10. So her passive talents. The first talent of Yelan increases her max HP by the number of different elements in your team. So if you've got only one type in your team, you've got a 6% increase of HP, and moving on to up to 30%. So as you can see in my team, I've got 3 different elements: Pyro, Hydro and Animo, so my HP is increased by 18%. Her second passive is a nice passive for her supporting ability, because during her burst it will increase the active character's damage by 1% at the beginning of her burst, and this damage boost will increase of 3.5% of damage every second. So at the end of the burst of Yelan, you've got a big damage boost, and this goes up to 50%. And the third passive is a utility passive, so it gives 25% more rewards when Yelan is dispatched on Liyue expedition for 20 hours, so that's pretty cool. Then her constellations. So first constellation gives 1 more charge for her elemental skill, so that's more of a comfort constellation, because it will lower her energy recharge requirement, so that's pretty good but not necessary. Her second constellation is very good. It will make Yelan more reliable as a Hydro enabler for Pyro vape comps, for example. So it will basically throw one more arrow during Yelan's burst every 1.8 seconds. C3 will increase her burst level by 3. That's classic, but pretty nice for her burst damage. C4 is a very good constellation if you've got characters that scales off HP like Hu Tao in your team, because Yelan will increase all the party members' max HP of 10% for every enemy that she marked with her elemental skill. So that's a nice damage increase for Hu Tao, or a stronger shield for Zhongli, or more healing for Bennett. But it's very situational and useless if you run Yelan with attack or defense scaling characters. So very situational constellation, but can be good. C5 increases elemental skill level by 3, so it is what it is, so pretty good. Not the greatest, but classic. And C6 makes Yelan on-field main DPS, so it changes her gameplay totally, so it can be good for whales to make Yelan a main DPS. So that's it. So then moving on to Yelan's weapons. Yelan's is a good free-to-play friendly character, since she scales off HP, so you don't have to have a great base attack on your weapon, so you can run 3-star weapons without losing DPS on Yelan. So the three-star weapons that I recommend for Yelan are Sharpshooter's Oath with a nice crit damage substat, Recurve Bow with a great HP percent substat, and Slingshot with a very good crit rate substat. I do not recommend Messenger because it has a pretty high base attack and low crit damage, so you can run Sharpshooter's Oath instead. These 3 bows are very good statistic for Yelan, but be aware if you're running a crit damage, HP or crit rate bow, you'll have energy recharge issues, so you will probably run energy recharge timepiece, but we will see it in the artifacts section. 4 stars weapons now. Favonius Warbow with a low base attack, a very high energy recharge substat, so that's a very good bow on Yelan because you will not struggle for energy recharge. I personally will run Yelan with this bow. Next, the Stringless is maybe the best 4-star option to do the more damage with Yelan. The EM substat isn't useful, but the passive is really good for Yelan. Sacrificial Bow is a good bow for Yelan because of the energy recharge substat and the passive that will decrease Yelan's energy recharge requirement, but it has a high base attack and pretty low crit energy recharge substat of around 30%. The next weapon that I recommend is the Viridescent Hunt. That can be a good statistic for Yelan, but it has not as much crit rate substat as the Slingshot, so I recommend Slingshot better. I do not recommend Blackcliff Warbow because it has a high base attack and low crit damage substat. The Sharpshooter's Oath is better for me. And then moving on to her 5-star options. So we've got her Best in Slot, Aqua Simulacra, With this bow she'll do the most damage. There's nothing more to add. You'll probably have to run a ER timepiece with this bow, but other than that there's no big deal. Elegy for the end will be her best in slot option for a support role because of its great passive and very high energy recharge substat. And Skyward Harp, Thunder Impulse and Polar Star are pretty good statistic for her, but you've got the 3-star options that gives them the same substat. I do not recommend at all any bow that increases attack in the substat, because it will be completely useless at all on her, because she directly scales off HP. So moving on to her artifact sets, I run Yelan on a 4-piece Emblem of Seared Fates set, but you can run her on a 2-piece Hydro damage bonus and 2-piece Noblesse, or 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Tenacity of the Millilith, or a combination of a 2-piece of one of these 3 artifact sets. The main stat of the artifacts: timepiece, you will have to run an HP % timepiece, but if you lack of ER, you'll have to run a energy recharge timepiece, Hydro damage bonus cup, and crit rate or crit damage circlet. So that's it for our artifacts. For Yelan's energy recharge requirement, if she's the only Hydro character in your team, and if you don't have any battery or anything else, I do recommend at least 200% energy recharge. If you're running a sacrificial bow, her C1 or Raiden, it will decrease her energy recharge requirement, but 200% is a pretty good spot to be. So as you can see, my Yelan has almost 33,000 HP with her passive boost, 76% crit rate almost, 144% crit damage, not the greatest but correct, and a 222% energy recharge. So I'm very good on energy recharge. I have her bursts all the time after her cooldown. So moving on to Yelan's teams. Yelan has a pretty similar team with Xingqiu's, because she has the same role as him. You want to run Yelan with teams that want Hydro off-field SUB-DPS like National or Rational team, with teams with Pyro main DPS that will need a Hydro enabler to vape, like with Diluc, Yoimiya or Hu Tao, or even Klee, or in Permafreeze team, even if Mona and Kokomi will always be a better option, I think. So let's test Yelan's Hydro application with Hu Tao, first without Thomas ultimate, to see if she can keep up with Hu Tao Pyro application, and then with Thomas burst active if he steals too much of Hu Tao's vape. So first, pretty good damage. That's a vape, that's a vape, that's a vape, that's not a vape, that's a vape. Vape, okay, pretty good. So you can see that if you're not missing your rotations or reactions, you can vape like 80, like 90% of your charge attack with Hu Tao and Yuemiya. That's a vape, so yeah. If you're not messing with your rotation, you can vape like... I think I messed up with one rotation at the moment, but if you're not setting up your rotation or reactions, I think Yelan can keep up with Hu Tao's Pyro application. That's a pretty good thing, but now we will see if it changes something with Thomas bursts during Hu Tao's DPS window. So for now we will see Yelan's damage in like a solo team, but with only 3 types of characters against Pyro Regisvine, to see how she performs. So let's break his shield first. Will be... we will be... okay, that's it. Let's do this. I just... yeah, that's very good damage from her. I used Kazuha to decrease the Regisvine's hydro resistance and boost Yelan's hydro damage, but as you can see, it's very good damage coming from her. So now we will see if Thomas' Pyro application will mess up Hu Tao's vapes. So let's see. Let's do it. So our friend has to wake up. Oh, I do not have almost 40k on the skill. So that's a vape, that's a vape, that's... I don't know, that's a vape. Oh, that's... I think that's a vape, that's not a vape, that's a vape. Oh, that's pretty nice actually. I did not expect that the rotation would work like this. It's very good. I am very I'm very surprised actually. So if you're not messing up your rotation, you can have the same results with Thomas burst active than with Thomas burst off. So you can run C6 Thomas with Yelan. You'll have more chance to mess up one of Hu Tao's charge attack, but it works, as you can see. But if you're not sure, do not run Thomas or do not activate his burst, and that's it. So I tested a rational team with Yelan. I will not include it with this video, sorry, but it worked pretty well because I killed all of the ringers on the beach right there, so that's very good. And I've done some abyss runs. So for conclusion, Yelan is very good character for me. I had a very fun time playing her. I think she's one of my favorite character now. So I hope you enjoyed this guide and this helped you and building your Yelan, or even making up your mind if you wanna pull her or skip her. I will not advise you if you should skip or pull her. It's up to anybody. I do not regret pulling for her. So thanks for watching. That's my first guide. If you've watched all of this guide, thank you very much.